Sorry, my last video, somebody knocked on my door, so I couldn't finish my rant about my circumstances in Canada. But this is part two. So basically, what I was trying to talk about was how the weather of Canada affects your ability to be an independent kind of worker. You can't be independent. You can't really bargain for yourself. You can't tell your boss what to do or what to not tell him what to do as in like go do this work or pick that up. More like anytime your boss says something to you, you always have to remain thinking about how if you say no, you'll end up getting stuck to your room for maybe 1 month. You lost on your last paycheck, and then you're really screwed when they want to come around and tell you what to do, for example, or tell you to leave your room and go outside or something like that when you can't afford to pay for another month because, for example, your boss was like, so for example, maybe, but even by accident, maybe something happened and something, you broke the pressure washer maybe, or something happened, something on the job site you were handling, it broke by accident, and then your boss might come around and say, I can't have you in here anymore, goodbye, you can't be working here. And then you go to your room and you realize you weren't prepared for that. So whether he's a nice boss or not, or whatever he is, a Canadian civilian, always, you can never fuck up once. You can never make any mistakes. You can't do something that might upset your employer, basically. It's not like you want to say, it's not like you want to swear to your employer. It's not like you want to, even if it was a good environment and you had good weather and as a person you're surviving well, you still wouldn't go around talking shit to your employer, right? I mean, but you just know inside that there's nothing you can't be upsetting your employer under any circumstances. They always have to be remaining happy to have you on their job site. So anything wrong that happens, they can even start extorting you. They can even start manipulating you, right? It doesn't matter how kind of personality you have. If they think you're a nice guy, if they think you're abusing if you're abusing them because you're super nice or something, they'll try to. They know that you always have to obey whatever kind of psychological things that they require from you. It could be anything. It might make the civilians, it makes the people who work for the employer feel sick inside that they can't, right? Like maybe your employer wants to tell you you're a pussy or you're a bitch or you're something. He wants to swear at you, and what you're gonna do? You can't say no. You are. You can't fight or anything. You have to just be like, yes, I am. I am a pussy. I am, just going to listen to you. I am going to take your abuse. You have to just be abused and keep working. Or else you're going to face sub-zero temperatures, and they want to threaten you with, they don't assault you. They don't, you know what I'm saying? If they want to punish you, they leave you to die by the weather itself. And they ostracize you. They could start, the people who have the money can begin to psychologically abuse you. That's what's wrong. That's why in Canada it sucks. But some things are good. If you are an employer, it's holy fuck, it's good to be in Canada. If you are a rich person, holy fuck, it's good to be in Canada. Why? Because you can start abusing the shit out of everybody. Everybody's gonna be your bitch now. Everybody's gonna listen to you 24/7 now. They're all petrified of even thinking of the thought of having to be subject to the environment, subject to the cold, subject to the rain, thinking they have to be outside even for one night. They're petrified. Fear. Fear is what keeps the people in Canada subservient. It's almost a little bit, it's almost like all seeing something just watching you 24/7. So imagine you want to work, right? It's kind of like the feeling of being in Orwell's story. It's the feeling of something is Big Brother is watching you. Somebody is watching you. The eyeball is watching you. Behave correctly. Even when there's no camera. Even when there's nothing actually watching you. But when you're alone in the corner of the job site, you're sure as hell thinking to yourself, oh my fucking god, my employer is gonna see this. He's gonna have a opposition to that. I have to make sure this is swept, that's clean, everything is tidy, everything is done properly. Well, of course you want to do things properly. But then but it's not about you. It's about the fact that the employer doesn't invest in the things that he needs to invest in. And he uses your back, and he uses your labor, and he uses a human to take care of himself first, right? Instead of buying tools that would make it so that people don't have to suffer too much, right? Like, I mean, I wish I could just show you some things and go down to the job site and have my camera out and show how they abuse these ideas. Right now, I live in somewhere where it's the most homeless people in there. Lots of homeless people. Lots of fucked up people outside in the downtown areas. Fucked. So many people. Tens fucked up. Okay? And they all look fucked up. Like they can't get a job again, or they can't survive again. They can't live again. And you know why? It's because the employer points them to a position where you can't it's hard to explain, right? Imagine you're working and you realize something is wrong about the job site. It's too much labor. It's too much it's abusing too much manpower to get the smallest things done, right? It's sucking your time. It's sucking your energy way too much, simply because the employer themselves don't invest in employees. And the employees have to pay for that. Not the employer. The employer doesn't pay, remember? Now the employee has to pay with his back pain. Now the employee has to pay with his hair loss and stress. And now the employee has to pay and do dangerous thing and risk himself getting seriously injured in the job site. Whereas the employer, he sits back and watches other people get abused. Watches other people get abused for the weather. Watch people get abused for running the system. Because they know you're not going to last more than 1 year even if you have a job. Because of the way they set up the job sites. And the way they set up the working environment. Especially on a construction site. What else can be said, really? If you're an employee and you realize the work is way too stressful, and you find yourself constantly constantly just saying yes, saying okay, saying anything to satisfy your employer so that he doesn't leave you to freeze, right? To leave you to die in a matter of 1 day's notice, in a matter of 1 month's notice. You have no notice for 1 month. In 1 month you have to have another job prepared. You won't have it. You have to have a month ahead of time to have another job, right? Because it takes 2 weeks to get a paycheck. And it might take you 2 paychecks to get enough for one rent. So if you don't have 1 month ahead of time, you're screwed. And if you didn't use that month correctly, and that month wasn't fruitful, you're screwed. That's it. It's goodbye. Now the hypothermia is about to kill you. Now the rain is about to abuse you. That's it. Goodbye now. You're on the tent areas with the homeless now. And you think it's your fault. No. As soon as the employees are not at fault. The employees are just responding to themselves, even. They just regard themselves as unable, incapable of meeting the demands of that employer or whatever, right? And I'm not sure, and that's one of the reasons why Canada can be completely abusive to people who are like working class, to people who like don't have a language, or maybe they have a disability like hearing aids, or they can't or something, right? They get completely fucked over. Anyways. And you know what? It's interesting to hear employers talking to employees. The way they talk to employees is, we don't have to pay you. We don't have to be obliged to you. We don't have to exist for you. We already don't exist. The employer himself already is non-existent. Everyone in Canada is a non-existence. A barren existence. There's not many people in Canada in the first place. As a matter of fact, in my opinion, the employers of Canada are borderline criminal. They're borderline like somebody who abuses slaves, right? I'm not sure. I forgot the terminology for that, like a slave driver or whatever. They're like slave drivers, but they don't call you name and hit you with something or whip you with something. They just say they use the weather to whip you with it. They use the absence of their, like they just use an absence of thinking. They don't pay for things, even though they have millions of dollars. Maybe an employer has millions of dollars, huge loans, government support. They don't invest in your survivability on the job site. They invest in your fear ability. They invest in your ability to be scared of working. And they say, you know what? Because I know he's going to be scared to stay there and do that much thing and keep constantly. And they know you're going to have to constantly listen to them. Anything they say. You say, jump in the truck, you jump in the truck. You do this, you do that. You start doing this, you have to start doing that. Start washing this or scrubbing that or whatever. It's not shining his shoes. He could just tell you, right now, shine my shoes. And you might just fucking spit on his shoes and start shining it like you're a complete fucked up guy. You don't even know what the fuck they're gonna tell you to do. Next thing you know, your employer just tells you, come help me move my couch to my fucking room. Come help me start moving my TV around. come to my house and start moving my television around. Then they start using you outside of the fucking actual job you got hired for. That's exactly what that happened to me several fucking times in Canada as I'm working as a laborer. I'm working as a just some guy who goes around and does labor for people. They start telling you to I get hired to be like a sweeper. Next thing you know, he's starting to tell me to move the fridge that he bought. Or next thing you know, I'm working and I'm swamping. I'm at the recycling yard doing recycling, and next thing you know, he just tells you to come to his room to help him move a TV to his room. And you're gonna just say yes. If you say no, he's gonna look like this to you. I don't know if I like this guy. You know what I mean? You always have to start obeying your effing employer in Canada. That's it. Zero tolerance. They will just say good luck to the snow. Good luck to the freezing rain. Good luck to the freezing wind. Good luck, even if it's dry outside, it's fucking freezing. The ground is frozen. The grass is frozen overnight. Every fucking night. Maybe 1 month in the whole year, the outside isn't like frozen. I can't believe it even. I don't even understand it. And it really gives people anxiety and start thinking, oh my God, I always have to have a job. I always have to be in the schedule. I always have to be working. I always have to say yes. I always have to. There's no way I can deny it. There's no way I can bargain for anything. There's no way I can say I'm always in fear. I'm always petrified. I'm always just running around kissing my fucking employer's ass, no matter the fuck what. Literally, no matter. I'm saying he'll tell me your male, especially if you're a female employee, your male employer might just tell you to get down and start sucking his dick, and you'll just fucking do it. He started sexually abusing. They can start sexually fucking abusing you too, especially in a fucked up weather area. So be fucking careful, right? It happened to me. Somebody did sexually fucking abuse me on a job site once. Not like a big sexual abuse. Like maybe they slapped my ass a bit. Just not like grabbing my ass, but like slapping my ass as if it's okay to pat me on the ass, right? Like, so you know, any girl you just pat them on the ass, what happens? Sexual assault, right? It could be fucking anything, dude. Literally, they couldn't. That's what I'm saying. That's why it sucks to be in Canada, because your employer has a full grasp over you, a full control over you. And the more you work, the worse it gets. You have to quit and have another job. Quit and have another job. And then you become the kind of person who has to keep quitting and have another job. Quitting and have another job. Go to school, get another fucking thing. You know, it becomes fucking abuse. That's why I'm losing all my hair. I used to have long, beautiful hair, actually. I used to not have fucking white hairs all over my fucking body. I used to actually be such a young, handsome man. But then I started working in Canada. And then I started believing I have to stay in Canada. Because I can't just move. I don't exist somewhere else. Everywhere else, people don't understand me. This is the only place I was born. Right? I'm not accustomed to other people in other places. And I'm sure many Canadians are fucked up right now. They become homeless, they become sick. And it's because when they were working, they just kept saying, okay, yes, sir, no problem. I always have to have at least the rent every month. And no matter what my boss says, I'm gonna say okay. No matter what anybody says, I'm gonna say, even say shit okay. Even say like to your own family, it's okay, everything fine. You become mentally ill. You become psychologically abused. You start to psychologically abuse yourself. You start. You start to take. I might even say you start to take narcotics. You start to take these things as if you want a way out of this much fucking psychological abuse. You want to have the compassion you had when you were young and your parents loved you and did things for you. But you can't have it. And you have to rely on yourself now. And then now you become fucked up. Especially if your employer can be your. And you know what's even worse about that idea? Because your employer knows you're petrified of something, you have fear in your mind already. Not about. It could be not about like I'm scared to not pay the rent or something. They know you can do it and pay it or whatever. You'll say to yourself okay or whatever. But if your employer is, for example, a certain race, he can just start abusing you even more. He'll always and you always say yeah. So if, for example, if your employer is a certain race, he'll always favor his racial other people his race over you, and you always have to find it uh okay. You always have to find it that it's fair to be like set as like a Cinderella class, even when you're just at the bottom in the basement. You're never can rise unless you have a mystical experience, basically. Then they keep you like that, and they know you're gonna be like this about it. They know you're never gonna say, "Oh my god, you're being racist." Oh my god, you're doing that. And if you say you're being racist, they deny it. They're like, "No, we're not." Right? Because it's not an argument to live overnight one night and fucking lose your all your and lose everything and lose your body, lose your health, lose anything you ever fucking bought, lose your bed, lose everything. They don't care. They know the concept of race has to do with the concept of your brain can even survive one night overnight. So it doesn't, it's one and the same thing. They know the fear is connected to the same thing. So especially Canada is number one of them can be one of the most racist countries in the whole world to exist in. That's just that's all I wanted to say, really. Is about how the weather keeps you in a state of fear and of oppression. The weather. And whoever has control in that weather, whoever has the most power in that weather, can exercise racism over the population, can exercise bigotry on the population, can exercise uh, just absolute unconditional abuse onto any individual, any person for any reason at all. And that person will always say that it's okay and that it's yes, and they get abused and they'll just say yes, just like it's like a Stockholm syndrome. It's like it's so fucked up. Now I understand how women can feel sometimes. Women especially to be a woman in Canada can get you fucked up. You might get sexually abused by your employer. You might and if you do get sexually abused by your employer, you will just keep quiet. That is the fucked up part. That you might, as a person, you might have been abused and you always kept it quiet for 10, 20 years. And there was no way you could tell the police because Telling the police means you're gonna lose your fucking schedule. You're gonna be running around frantic again to find something else. You can't be moving around. You can't be changing it all the time, or else you might find yourself in a very unfortunate circumstances that you might be cast into a sub-zero environment randomly and abused by your ability to survive outside. Anyways, these things are just it's that's why I think that's why that's one of the reasons why rich people and monarchical people, bourgeoisie type of people, rich people, they like to be in Canada. They like to be somewhere where it's frigid cold, it's fucked up to stand outside, you can't protest, you can't bargain. And it's not even and they know you can't be even begin to talk about race. You can't say, oh, it's because they're attempting to use race against me. No. You will deny yourself of that. You will say no to yourself, even if it's true. You will deny if it's fucking real. That's what I'm saying, how fucking psychologically abusing it is to live in an economy in a cold environment or in a super hot environment. It could be just extreme weather conditions will cause you to deny yourself of understanding that you can actually. It's just horrifying to talk about it. It's confusing to even try and talk about this. You might be the kind of person who doesn't even understand how to speak English, or you don't have any language skills, you don't have any math skills, and you're just getting constantly mesmerized by other people's ability to understand you, understand your fears, and understand what you're thinking. Anyways, hopefully you're strong. Hopefully the weather doesn't affect you too much. Hopefully you have a family and you can stay somewhere for a few months without thinking about working. And you can go find another job somehow in another situation. You don't always have to get stuck and abused and by one person who just wants to constantly tell you things, and no matter what the fuck he tells you or what the fuck they tell you, you're always saying yes until the last day when you want to maybe like until you found another job and you want to jump to another job or something, right? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense for people whose employer wants to start abusing. It doesn't make sense to them how the hell they're gonna fight against someone who wants to be racist towards them. How they're gonna fight against someone who wants to tell them to do unsafe work. How are they gonna fight against someone who wants to tell them to do not only is it unsafe work, but the work is extremely manual labor. When the employer doesn't have to let it be manual labor, but he makes it manual labor so that you get abused and you can't stay. Or not stay, but so you have to go get another job or something. It's a anyways. Hopefully this helps people somehow. Hopefully when they watch this, they actually understand that it's not them that is a bad employee. It's the environment that you find yourself in that makes you start thinking in ways that's psychologically not healthy for itself to think. Even your employer is not psychologically healthy to be telling people where to do, or what to work, or what the hell to do. Anyways, hopefully this helps you. Hopefully you find some grain of truth to it or whatever it is, or maybe you found this helpful. If you find this helpful, maybe leave a like, leave a comment. If I've done something, I don't know, maybe I did it, maybe I didn't. Tell me if I'm wrong about Canada. Tell me if I'm right about Canada. I seriously need some sort of feedback because I want to try and understand whether working in Canada has any real merit to it, or if it's just if it's just there to be extreme amounts of suffering. Anyways, I'm saying things that don't make sense anymore. Anyway, all right. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a good one.